cyberbullying.
Now.
So I don't know what you guys know about cyberbullying, but it's basically bullying that takes place through electronic technology. Things like cell phones, computers, tablets, other communication tools, social media, text messages, chats, and websites. Examples of cyberbullying include mean text messages or emails, rumors sent or spread by email, and other rumors spread on social networking sites, and embarrassing pictures, videos, websites, and fake profiles. Fake profiles is kind of a neat. People will try to act like they're you sometimes, especially the more famous you get, or they'll want to pretend like they're somebody else. There have been several people that have tried to start fake profiles and say they're sick or something, and try to get you to send them money on PayPal or something like that. So you kind of be careful. That's not so much bullying, but we'll get into that in a week.
What?
Some of the things, I found this graphic, some of the things that happens in cyberbullying is they may post pictures of you to hurt or embarrass you, spread lies and rumors, pretend to be you online, dupes you into revealing personal information. That's kind of a crossover. They pretend like you know them, and then they use that to find out information about like your birthday, because birthday is something that you have to have for a credit card. Something like that. Send threatening emails or text messages.
I think so.
There's two videos in here. This is a short one, and this one's from the federal government's website on cyberbullying, and it kind of gives you an overview. And then I included another one in there that a gentleman made for the BBC in England. There wasn't a lot. It seems to be the one that's most revered right now, and the guy who did it is on the spectrum too, so he talks a lot about it, and he interviews a lot of adults about it, because as you'll see, that is this, even though a lot of these websites and stuff you'll come across talk about kids, it's not just for kids anymore. Okay, let's see.
We spend lots of time online. We text, we comment, we share. It's a big part of our lives. But communicating with someone online is just like talking to them in real life. Everyone appreciates politeness, and no one likes it when people make fun, spread gossip, rumors, or lies. The fact is, some people do try to hurt others online. It's called cyberbullying, and it's a lose-lose situation. It makes the person being harassed feel bad, and it makes the bully look bad. It might lead to trouble with school authorities or even the police. If someone's harassing you online, it's important not to respond. That's because bullies are looking for a reaction. Block them if you can. Ignore them if you can't. If it continues, save the evidence and ask an adult for help. And don't be afraid to stand up for yourself or to stand up for someone else being cyberbullied. This behavior usually stops pretty quickly when someone speaks up. And when you're communicating online, remember to treat people the way you'd like to be treated. Know how to handle yourself, because being online is part of your life. So stop and think before you click.
They make some good points in that too.
One good idea is
some more information. Why is cyberbullying different? People who are being cyberbullied are often bullied in person as well. So if you're at school or work or something like that and you're getting bullied online, chances are whoever's bullying you online is bullying you at the location. So that means you have to deal with it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can't get off by yourself, be alone. It can happen any time of the day or any time of the night. Back when I was in school, was just before cell phones were out, but they weren't real popular. Kids didn't have them. And, if you were getting bullied at school, you went home and you were fine at school until you went back to school the next day. So you could get kind of a break from it and recharge, but that's not really the case anymore. Another problem is it can be done anonymously. So if you make a fake profile and start bullying somebody and you don't have a name behind it, it's hard to prove who it is, so it's a little bit harder to get them to stop. But you can usually block people and keep them from messaging you in the first place. But deleting inappropriate, harassing messages, text, pictures is extremely difficult after they've been posted or sent. Basically, you can't. Once it starts, you can't stop it. It grows exponentially. One person gets it. Cell phones and computer themselves are not to blame for cyberbullying. There's a lot of benefits to it. Social media sites can be used for positive activities. So it's kind of one of those things that goes both ways. So you're not going to hear me or most people that have researched this to say don't do it, because there's plenty of positive reasons to do it. I think they just want to make the point here, like if you burn the toast, it may not be the toaster's fault. It may be just how it was set, or something like that. Now, they have found through research that if somebody's bullied either online or in person, a lot of the effects are the same. And these are some of the outcomes of that. People who are cyberbullied are more likely to use alcohol and drugs, skip school or other kinds of events, experience in-person bullying, be unwilling to go to school or certain types of events. They have poor grades, low self-esteem, and more health problems. Probably due to stress. Although 10 studies have been conducted in the United States on bullying and developmental disabilities, or any kind of disability really, all of them found that children with disabilities were 2 to 3 times more likely to be victims of bullying than their peers. This came from insights from across fields and around the world in 2009. 60% of students with disabilities reported being bullied, compared to 25% of the general student population. 88% of children with autism were reported by parents to have been victims of bullying. So it's definitely a problem. It's a problem for everybody, but sometimes if you're on the spectrum, it could be worse. Something to look out for. And one of the main things that I wanted to talk about beyond that was bullying in adulthood. It definitely exists. So it's not over when school's over. There's college. 22% of students have been cyberbullied in college. And they're also, if you're bullied in high school, you have a greater risk of being bullied as a student. And then work, there's a lot of problems in the workplace to do with bullying. 8 out of 10 people in the workplace have experienced cyberbullying. 14 to 20% of people felt that they were a victim at least once a week. And some of the ways that it translates at work is malicious or threatening emails, text messages, and tweets. Electronic communication that contain jokes about ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, or any other topic that makes somebody uncomfortable. Public shaming via mass email. Like everybody, you made a mistake, and then the company sends an email to everybody out in the company, talking about, they maybe don't use your name, but they talk about the mistake you made. And, sharing offensive or manipulated images or video of an individual, spread lies and gossip. Social networking sites and blogs are the most common way people become victims of cyberbullying. There's also, they kind of mentioned it there, emails to your supervisor that are untrue or rumors, and that's pretty common. And kind of to continue with the focus on adulthood, I got this video. This is the longer of the two videos. This video, although a lot of the people in here are British, it still kind of covers the same thing. The guy who did this documentary, and I've got this from a reputable site, and I was referred to it from several of the larger websites for people who are on the spectrum. And when we get to the end, I'll share some links with you to different places about bullying and more. But there's this guy in England who made this documentary for the BBC, and he is on the spectrum. This video is a little bit longer. I think it's about 10 minutes, a little over 10 minutes. But it really shows how people continue to get bullied in adulthood. A lot of people think bullying ends when you become an adult. It just changes.
Cyberbullying affects hundreds of people on the autistic spectrum condition. This includes trolling, stalking, impersonation, and it has a huge effect on people living with the condition. Cyberbullying has a huge impact. It's intrusive. It lives with a person 24 hours, 7 days a week. They've got access to their mobile phone, iPad and computer, and it stays with them every single day. Most online social media sites have blocking facilities, and this is the best way to deal with online trolls. If you have a disability and receive a threat on social media sites, you need to report this to your local police as a hate crime. People with disabilities who receive threats on social media sites currently come under their hate crime laws, but we need a better system in place.
Laws do exist to deal with online bullying, but sadly it's not the laws that are not effective, it's the way they're policed. We need to get the authorities, and in particularly the police, to start to look at the issues of online bullying very seriously. In the same way that you would receive a letter or a threat face to face, we need to get the authorities to deal with online bullying in the same way. Sadly, whilst the internet provides a platform for many to communicate, it also provides an opportunity for those people who want to send abusive messages to other people. The easiest way is to ignore them, but that's not always possible. I certainly feel that an issue exists, particularly with police, whereby they will go and attend incidents, they'll talk to people about the threats they're receiving online. But what they're not doing at this moment is understanding the backstory, the issue that the person may have a learning disability, and in particular autism, because that affects so many people in the way that they understand and they interpret the threats that are being made to them.
Having autism and being cyberbullied is completely different to somebody who isn't on the spectrum. When I got the cyberbullying, still have the cyberbullying today, it's with you 24/7. There's no escape from it. Myself, because I'm autistic, I take things very literally, and when I even received the death threat, I couldn't even venture out of the house. If it was somebody who wasn't autistic and received a death threat, they would have different coping mechanisms, how to deal with that threat. But when somebody's on the spectrum like myself, we take it very literally, and it affects us, it affects our anxiety, our emotions, it affects the way we live.
Online bullying is very different for someone who is on the autistic spectrum, compared to someone who's not. I feel that the bullying probably becomes all-consuming to that person, and that they can't switch off from what is being, you know, said or implied to them. You know, and again, someone who is autistic, they find it very hard to deal with anxiety, and I'm sure, you know, that anxiety levels will raise and become, you know, very emotional and frightened, and will not be able to stop thinking about, you know, what is being said to them. Whereas someone who's not on the autistic spectrum could probably close a laptop down, or, you know, shut the phone off and forget about it for a while and deal with it in a totally different way.
Autistic people tend to be very trusting and very naive in many ways. They trust people and they start talking to people, not realizing that some people actually are on the other side being abusive. They might say something that is not acceptable, and the autistic person will take it thinking that it's acceptable and it's okay for that phrase to be used. I think there is a risk of children like my son, for instance, not that he actually goes on the internet by himself, but there is people like Stephen who are more high functioning, that perhaps are influenced by what they are seeing.
I think that online bullying poses a higher risk to those on the autistic spectrum because of the fact that already they may have some challenges about dealing with social interactions. And it makes it that much more complex for someone on the spectrum to think, how do I deal with it? What is this person saying? Why me?
It affected me really bad being bullied online. You know, it's with you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's intrusive. It's always with you. You cannot escape from it. It's worse than being physically bullied. You know, it's there constantly, every day. There's no escape from it.
Before I did the X Factor, I was just a normal guy, you know, doing a 9-to-5 job. I went on the X Factor and overnight, you know, become this sort of celebrity. And with that, to connect with your fans, you have to do social media, you know, Facebook, Twitter, which I was never a part of before. And then came the trolls. And I never experienced that before. And, you know, the bullying, the vileness, the threats to kill my family were unbelievable, and it was really hard to deal with. And I took it to heart. And some days, you know, I was in floods of tears, and it really, really upset me. It really got to me, and it took me a long time to understand that, you know, that these are just trolls, you know, that have got nothing better to do than to sit at a computer and bully people. When I first started getting the tweets off trolls and the bullying that I received online, I just couldn't read them. You know, I was blocking them, but just blocking these people. Then I'd just sit there. You know, I'd go home and I'd close the blinds. You know, and I'd sit there in my room in the dark and just think, oh, you know, it's. What have I done to deserve this?
I received a death threat that stated that they knew where I lived, they were going to come and fix me. And what made it worse was that at the time it was night time, I was at home on my own, so it was a lot more unsettling and it was a lot more terrifying. I didn't really understand why I was receiving the death threat either. It was completely out of the blue. I didn't know who the person was. I'd never spoken to the person. And it was directly linked to working with your campaign, which was even worse because they're threatening me over something that I feel that I'm doing good for.
The trolls who have been trolling me, I've had lots of things. I've had impersonation, people cloning my profile and pretending to be me. I've had, you know, hatred messages about myself, and, you know, some of these trolls who hide behind a computer, who are totally anonymous. You don't know who they are, and I just can't understand why they do it. You know, why they, you know, pick on people who are vulnerable, and pick on people who are on the spectrum.
The worst one was a guy that wanted to shoot me in the head while I was on the X Factor tour, and that was a tweet, and him and his friends were actually tweeting together, and they were saying R.I.P. Chris Maloney, and they were planning on shooting me. And it was in Newcastle, and they wanted to take me off the X Factor tour. And the police got called in, and I said, you know, I don't want to be taken off the tour. I mean, he could have been in that arena with a gun, for all I knew, but, you know, these fans paid money to go in to see me on the tour, and I was going to perform for them. It was publicised, the guys got arrested. I think they're awaiting trial at the moment. I can't say too much about it, but that was actually, you know, it's frightening that these people can do this quite openly and think that they can get away with it. So it's difficult, and what I've done now, you know, any kinds of bullying that I've received or any kinds of threat, I've reported it to the police. One of my biggest fears as a parent to a child who is, you know, autistic, is his vulnerability and to how vulnerable he will be to all the technology that will be out there in the future, you know, through Facebook, Twitter, you know, online, social media sites. You know, they're everywhere. They'll be at home, in school. And if he is bullied and harassed, it's how do you get away from that? Because it's with him all the time.
I think we need to move forward in very big ways to help people who are online, who have autism and are at risk of being bullied or being bullied. Awareness is just not high enough. People need to be ready to act. We need to simplify procedures for how to report abuse. And we need to also make sure that it's very clear that this is against the law, that that it has to become like a hate crime. It has to be seen as it's that important that people who are feeling vulnerable are not subject to this kind of abuse.
Social networks have a responsibility. The problem is many of them are created, but without the thought of what they do about people online bullying. What we need to do is we need to say to the social networking sites, police your sites, take down those people who are making the threats, block them, ban them, and tell the authorities. And then we need to make sure the police proactively are looking for these people, because they're making people's lives a misery.
I'd love to see people get behind this campaign, to petition the MPs, to get these laws changed. I'd love to see it to go out in schools, universities, YouTube, so everybody can see it, talk about it, pass it on.
I would say to get involved in any way you can. Tell your clubs, your schools, your MPs, your workplaces. Get people involved, tell them about it. We need to stamp this out once and for all.
Just be there, aware, to back Kevin's autism bullying campaign, to make sure that they are ready to act. Don't be frightened. We will become bigger in numbers than the trolls.
The more we shout about it, the more we'll get heard.
There are so many ways that people can support this campaign, even by putting their name to it through Twitter and Facebook.
You've heard everybody on the film. Now it's your chance to get involved with the campaign. Sign the petition online on the campaign website. Contact your local MP. Also, share this through social media, Facebook, Twitter, email it. Spread the message out. Let's get everybody involved with the campaign, and let's change the laws on cyberbullying.
If you don't respond, you kind of deflate the situation. You got somebody who's bullying, and you'll be tempted to be like, nuh-uh, and defend yourself. But if you just don't say anything, that's what they're looking for, is you to get mad so they can reply again, and so on. And they use the term add heat of the moment posts when make you start looking bad. And then that'll get circulated. But I'll tell you this, I've worked in behavioral health for the last 14 years in different facets, and I'll tell you this, I've never seen anybody have a behavior where they weren't trying to elicit some response, whatever that response would be, and then continue it if it did not work. So, and you can apply that to a lot of different situations, but I would apply it to bullies as well, because you can take it if a kid has a screaming fit and wants to leave the mall, and you leave the mall. Next time the kid wants to leave the mall, he's going to have a screaming fit. If that doesn't work, they're going to try to do something else. So whatever it may be. So if a troll's trolling you and you don't pay them any attention, they're more likely to move on somewhere where they can, someone else that's more fun target for them. You can, if you need to, you can change your contact information. I've seen people make new. It happens. I have friends that make new Facebook pages, and then they only send those. They try to restrict more so who they send those links out to. Um, Now, one thing we've talked about this whole time is saving all your stuff. If somebody does cyberbullying, save your information. You can contact the web host, and if it's happening like on Facebook, you can contact Facebook and send them the proof, and then they'll do something about it. And then if you ever get your account hacked, which happens on Facebook a lot, all you have to do is change the password to fix that. To get hacked, basically somebody guesses your password into Facebook, and then they pretend to be you, or they put up usually everything we deal with in America and other countries is money oriented. So they'll get in and they'll start putting advertisements up and stuff. And number 4 is most everything has a block feature. Facebook has one. Phones have them for text. You can block people contacting you. If they can't block you, they can't get the response they want. Most of the time they'll quit. And then finally, something we've been talking about the whole time is save all your communications. Ignore them, but save it. Change your contact information, but if they send you something, save it. Save everything. Do a screenshot if it's something that you can't save otherwise. Keep it all. You can use it to go to. They talk about local newspapers or law enforcement, and the owner of the website. Send it to Facebook if it's Facebook. Send it to Twitter if it's Twitter. And having all that proof will give them something to act on. Yeah, or at all. Sometimes they'd just be like, well, we can't do nothing because we don't have it. And then you can say, look, here it all is. You do have something. Yeah. It just hid itself.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been recording this, not you guys, but me, and what's on the screen here. I pause it whenever we get to talk. How to deal with cyberbullying. Don't blame yourself. It's not your fault. No matter what they say or do, don't be ashamed of who you are and what you feel. They're the person with the problem, not you. You can try to think of it from a different perspective. So whoever's doing it is an unhappy and frustrated person who wants to make you feel bad so you feel as bad as they do, usually. So don't give them the satisfaction. Don't beat yourself up. Don't make a cyberbullying incident worse by dwelling on it, reading the message over and over. Instead, delete any cyberbullying messages and focus on a positive experience. There are many wonderful things to be proud of who you are. Now, when they say delete it, you can delete it off your device, but in some form, save it so you can use it later. Get help. Don't try to just do it by yourself. We talked about, it's a problem with adults, mainly at colleges and workplaces. You have human resources departments you can go to, and you have school officials, school counselors at college that will help you deal with these things. Learn to deal with stress. Find a way to relieve stress, and so you'll be more resilient and less overwhelmed. Some ways to do that are exercise, meditation, positive self-talk, muscle relaxation, and breathing exercises. Spend time doing things you enjoy. The more time you spend with activities that bring you pleasure, sports and hobbies, hanging out with friends, the less time you'll have for cyberbullying in your life. So you'll automatically ignore it more. These are most of the information that I've gone over today comes from, I started at autismsafety.org. And this is a list of websites to do with bullying on autismsafety.org. Their master site. So if I send this out to you guys, you'll have it. But this is the website. And there's lots of information about many different things. But the bullying stuff is over here. State by state law. So that's also a good resource. We talked about how laws are changing all the time. They're trying to make cyberbullying, especially when it involves people with disabilities, a hate crime. So it has different penalties. So you could look to check on things like that right now. Most of the laws to do with cyberbullying fall under the stalking and harassment stages. And that's where saving that stuff comes in handy. That's one thing about cyberbullying is there's a record of it. Right, you have her word against her word, or her word against his word, or whatever it is.
Well, schools do have cameras, so